a couple months later, Mike Payne invited me to come play keyboards at a conference that they were doing in Hungary. And the night before I was going to drive to Budapest, I remember I was practicing some of the parts on the keyboard, and all of a sudden, I just started to shake all over. And I was shaking uncontrollably, and I ended up with a really high fever. I've never been as sick in my adult life as I was that day. And I just remember thinking, well, that's it, I'm not going. I wrote Mike and said, I'm not sure I'm gonna make it, but you can pray, but I'm really sick. And I really just basically wrote it off, just thinking, it's just keyboards, I'm sure they can find somebody, and it's not like I'm the drummer or something, where it's more important. But I remember my mom called me that day, and she said, Johnny, I don't want to sound really insensitive or anything, but you need to go. And I remember just thinking, man, Mom, seriously, I'm very sick. But she said, no, you need to go. She said, you're going to receive more than you can give. And I remember at the time I didn't think much of that, but we prayed about it, and the next day I did feel a little bit better. So we decided to drive. It's a 12-hour drive to Hungary, and the Lord really did bless the time at the conference. It was a great time, and it was the beginning of some really great friendships with guys on the worship team. But it was only after the conference that I started to realize how prophetic Mom's words ended up being. The worship team that summer came and ministered to us at a worship conference that we had. And, of course, we've played many times together. And Mike was a huge part in the Bishkek project, helping with just with the recording and just kind of walking me through the mixing process and mastering process. And I don't know how I would have done it without his help. And finally, all those guys are part of the EP. They're all singing and playing on the album, and it's really kind of what started everything. When we finally did start recording Strength and Weakness in the studio, I remember I was doing the vocals, and it was right when Paul and Melanie had left Bishkek for good. The authorities there had been giving them a lot of trouble with religious permission, and they realized that it was time to leave, and of course a very hard time for them. And I'd invited Melanie to help with the album, and I remember I was doing the vocals, and she was sitting in the control room. I could see her through the glass, and as I was singing, I looked over, and she had stood up, and she had her hands raised, and she was just worshiping, and it all just kind of flooded back, the whole Bishkek project, and just from that point on, just how the Lord had been so faithful in all of his ways, through our brokenness, through our weakness, he's always faithful. The song is really, it's where I'm always at. I think this song, I can always sing it because, if the Lord is doing something through us, it's when we recognize our weakness, when we recognize that we have nothing to offer him, and he is everything and has all strength. He is faithful, and he will complete whatever work he has started. So that's the story of Strength and Weakness.